Well, Zimbabwe over the years has grabbed headlines for its political and economic instability, but officials are now working to change that image by highlighting the country's other attributes, among them tourism. Zimbabwe is reversing its tourism fortunes after years of decline. The biggest boost came recently from the controversial appointment of President Robert Mugabe as one of the tourism ambassadors for the United Nations World Tourism Organization ahead of its 20th General Assembly in Victoria Falls in August of 2013. Prior to that, the Africa Travel Association, which recently hosted its 37th annual Congress in Victoria Falls, also appointed the country's tourism minister, Walter Mzembe, as its rotating president. Mzembe says he wants to grow Africa's tourism to double digits by 2020.
Global tourism generates $1.2 trillion in direct income, and there's an impact on global GDP of $6 trillion. And yet Africa's share of this action is only a mere 3%, where they are talking arrivals. So my objective in the next 2 years is really to set a new agenda for Africa, where we begin to increase our participation and our market share of global tourism.
Joyce Mujuru, Zimbabwe's vice president, officially kicked off ATA's Congress, which drew an estimated 600 local and international tourism stakeholders and media to the resort town. Tourism is one of 4 sectors President Mugabe has prioritized to boost the nation's economy. Karikoga Kaseke, chief executive of the Zimbabwe Tourism Authority, has been tasked with marketing Zimbabwe as a favorite tourist destination and is hoping to attract more tourists from the United States in particular within 18 months as a result of the Congress.
After coming here, it's sort of endorsing us for the American market. It's sort of endorsing us for other markets as well.
Executive Director Edward Bergman of the ATA says hosting its Congress in Zimbabwe will help boost the industry and create jobs.
Tourism is the world's leading industry. It's an export industry. It creates jobs, builds cultural understanding, supports environmental preservation. These are all wonderful things and attributes that we can attribute as an industry and which can really help this country and indeed help the world.
Kaseke takes pride in showcasing what he calls Zimbabwe's own world of wonders, starting with its people and other attractions such as its game, historical sites, and of course, the mighty Victoria Falls, one of the 7 wonders of the world. But he says negative and sometimes false coverage of the country following its controversial 2000 land reform program, contested elections and the violence that ensued took a toll on the country's tourism.
That was the major reason why we nosedived from 2.2 million to 1.2 million, over 1 million tourists. That was too bad for us. But yes, we are now sitting on 2.4 million, and I think it's a great achievement.
Kaseke attributes this growth to peace and the formation of the unity government in 2009 between ZANU-PF and the Movement for Democratic Change. Governor and resident minister Thokozile Matutu of the Matabeleland North Province, where Victoria Falls is located, says the region is experiencing a turnaround.
I think it's a blessing for our country, Zimbabwe, to be recognized by all these people who have come to the conference. And it means they have now confidence in our country.
Meanwhile, United States Ambassador to Zimbabwe, Charles Ray, says while the U.S. has maintained targeted sanctions on some of the country's top officials, it fully supports the country's tourism and economic growth.
As a tourist, you don't really get caught up in politics. And to me, tourism is building that people-to-people understanding that can help us overcome some of the political differences. And it's really not up to the U.S. government. I mean, it's up to the tourism industry, it's up to individuals.
But Minister Mzembe says constant reference to the country's past problems is irrelevant now in the face of its recent endorsement by both the ATA and the UN World Tourism Organization.
We must talk the future, and the future, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council, puts Zimbabwe only second to China as the second fastest growing tourism economy by GDP contribution for the next decade, growing at an annualized rate of 8.2%. That is what we must talk about. We must talk about the future.
Zimbabwe will co-host the UN World Tourism Organization's General Assembly with neighboring Zambia.